Okay. So before we start the presentation, let me take you through the website. Right. I hope you can see the website now. So this is our Moodle. With this top block is the information, and then there are some learning resources. There is a forum here, and this is the Zoom class link. I might change this next week, but you click here, and you will get the latest Zoom link there. And this is broken into weeks. I've loaded week 1. So there are 3 things that you can see under week 1. So there is a assignment loaded. There is a week 1 presentation, which I'll be doing today. And then there is also some other additional resources. I'll add some more as we move forward, but this is a 4-minute YouTube video. So I assume you to go through these weekly activities before coming to the class. We don't have time to go through the videos. These are very short videos. So I assume you will go through these videos before coming to the class. So that way my job is easy, right? So you have some background information on that. I will explain what this online course is about later. So these are some of the books. No need right now, but as you move forward, you will need these books. You can have a soft copy or hard copy. Either one is fine. I'll get this from the presentation. So the name of the unit is Mobile Application Development. We spent a lot of time. I went through the previous units. I went through previous presentations. I also looked at what is happening in the market, because talking of myself, I've been in the software development for a very long time. I ran a software development company in Colombo in 1990s, 95, then took that to US, to the Silicon Valley, came back, and then joined another organization called the Business Incubator, where we were incubating ideas. So when people come with ideas, we convert them into companies. So if you look at companies in the market, for example, PicMe, the 3 CEOs there, they all came from the Business Incubator. Zone 24/7 was a project of this Business Incubator. WSO2 was also started there at this incubator. So there are so many other companies in Sri Lanka, Z Messenger, there's SAP customizing companies and whatnot. They all started there. So I'm having a lot of experience in software building, small to large scale, and delivery. So if you look at the market to see this particular topic, right? The mobile application development, there are lots of different flavors available. There is native development, where you learn Java or Kotlin and then develop native apps. Then there is also Apple, where you either do Swift or Objective-C, develop Apple native applications. But if you look at the market, many applications are now available on both platforms, right? Now, to do that, from a software company point of view, you need 2 different departments. One department developing application for Android, and another department developing applications for Apple. Now, it's okay if the application is complex and you make a lot of money from both platforms, it's okay. But many companies are doing small time application development, so they can't afford to have 2 teams. So many companies nowadays are looking at hybrid applications, where you have a single code base and it works on both platforms, Android and Apple. So in this regard, there are a couple of solutions available. There is Xamarin from Microsoft. Then there is React Native from Facebook and Flutter from Google. So we choose Flutter because one, it is coming from Google, and two, it is much more smooth and faster than React Native. So this course is based on Flutter, right? So at the end of the program, you will be able to develop mobile applications using Flutter. But that is not the focus, right? So the focus or the aim is to get the knowledge required on mobile application development, right? Not Flutter. Flutter is a byproduct. We will use Flutter in order to visualize and confirm what you're learning on mobile application development. Now, in order to get on with this, there are a couple of prerequisites I expect from you. One is a very good knowledge on programming and algorithms. More than programming, algorithms. And number two is a solid understanding of object-oriented programming. And number three, an understanding of data structures, advanced ones. Yeah. Now, if you look at the programming languages like JavaScript, where React Native and React is based on, Angular, React, they're all based on JavaScript. They use a very interesting concept of programming. They go beyond object orientation. Okay, so they use something called functional programming, where you call one function from another. And also there is something called asynchronous programming, where you don't block your program until you get the result. You request something and you go on with your life. You don't wait or you don't block your program until you get the results. So these are the concepts that we are using when it comes to mobile application development. We request, then we move on. When the response comes online, then we update whatever the section required. So to understand all that, the basic foundation is very, very important. That's why these three are very important. So if you need to brush up yourself on algorithms and, when you say algorithm, we're actually talking about patterns, right? So your understanding of patterns, your understanding of object-oriented principles, concepts, and also data structures. Without it, it will be very difficult to understand what is going on with the application here. Now, on the assessment side, there are small parts everywhere here. First one is continuous assessment. So every week, you will be given some activity to do, right? Maybe we might continue the same thing in the other week as well. So continuous assessment, you are getting 10% there. You also have 2 online courses you need to complete. One is on user experience and user interface design. It's a very generic one where you can use it on any language, whether you are using Java or Python, Flutter, Dart, whatever. So these are fundamentals of user interface design. You will know why you need that. And then the other one is an online Flutter course. So both of them give you 10% marks from your final marking sheet, right? Online UX course will get you 5%, and the other one will get you another 5%. Then we have a midterm semester exam, which will give you 20% of that. So the final marking is divided into 2 pieces. One is a mobile app that you will be developing, and then your final exam. So this is how the marking is distributed. So as you can see, it's very difficult to fail this subject. This subject එක fail වෙන්න සෑහෙන අමාරුයි. මොකද කොටස් ගොඩක් තියෙනවා මෙතන කරන්න. fail වෙන්නත් පුළුවන්. You can also fail this. සෑහෙන try එකක් දීලා online course නොකර ඉඳලා continuous නොකර ඉඳලා මොකක් හරි project එකට අටවලා දුන්නා නම් ඔන්න fail වෙන්න පුළුවන්. But I'll make sure this is interesting and hands-on, right? So you will be building things and you will be learning these things. And in fact, some of the things you are learning here, you can apply into your final year project also. Or when you're applying for a company, this will be a fantastic plus point, because both of these online courses will give you certificates, which you can showcase in your LinkedIn profile, right? And that would be nice when you're applying for internship or jobs later. Okay, so just like any other modules, we do have our learning outcomes. So there are 5 here. One is realizing and presenting the architecture of a mobile applications. So what does that mean? Now, remember I said Flutter is just one piece. Flutter is not everything about this module. So understanding the architecture of a mobile application is very, very important. If you go back in the history, there were so many architectures. There was one from Nokia. That was, I think, one of the first smartphone architectures called Symbian. And then there were a few others. There was one from Palm. There's one from Motorola. Then there is BlackBerry, if you remember. Microsoft also had another one. But now, 2023, we have only 2. We have Android, then we have Apple. But nevertheless, going back and understanding some of the problems they faced and how they fixed it and how they arrived here, with that will be very interesting to see. So we will go into the history to understand the architecture and how things are designed here. For your information, both Apple and Android are based on a Unix kernel. They are both Unix inside, right? Apple uses something called Darwin. Android uses Linux, by the way, Linux kernel. So knowing a bit of these architectures is also very helpful, because Unix kernel is a solid kernel. It doesn't crash. And there are a lot of other additional things. It's very secured compared to, let's say, Microsoft, perhaps, right? So there are a lot of plus points why they choose Unix kernel as the foundation of mobile applications. And number 2 is to differentiate between multiple platforms for mobile application development. So like I said, right now we have 2, but then we need to go and see what are the other platforms available also. Now, remember, you're going to be software engineers, okay? So you might build application for desktop, that is laptop desktop, right? You may be building application for servers, that is server client architecture kind of thing. You may be building application for devices, IoTs, smart vehicles, air conditions, whatever it may be. So understanding the platform is very important then, especially if it is a embedded system. There are a lot of challenges there, resource challenges and various things. So same story applies to mobile application development as well. So when you master this properly, you will have a very good market share as well, a big potential for you. Number 3, be acquired with a hands-on experience on developing a mobile application. So this is where we will be developing the application. That is number 3, right? So number 1 and number 2 is not development. That is understanding and differentiation of other platforms. Number 3 is where we will be doing some application development. So we will, like I said, we'll be using Dart programming language and the Flutter platform in order to develop our applications, which runs both on Apple and also Android. Number 4 is how to test your application, because testing is very important and also very different compared to, let's say, desktop or laptop applications. Because your mobile phone is a very small device. People hold it like that and they use the thumb. So as you notice, you will see like your thumb only goes from here to here. So there is no point putting a button there to click, right? So there are a lot of psychological things we need to understand when you're designing your phone. So things like that. No, are you holding in the left hand? Are you holding on the right hand? Where are you going to put the camera, for example? Where is the other sensors? Should we have a speaker here, or where to put the mic, stuff like that. So there are a lot of things go into the designing of the hardware. And also when it comes to application development, you also need to understand, okay, how are these people using it, right? So is it single thumb or double thumb, like, typing? So things differ from case to case. And last one is discuss and present mobile applications based solutions. Now, this is where our UI UX training program will come in handy, because you don't just jump into coding. Do not do that. We will not sit in front of the laptop first. We need a lot of papers and pencils to draft what we want, and only then we will go develop our application. Okay, so these are the learning outcomes for this module. Right. Now let's look at the definition of mobile application development. What do you mean by mobile application development? Right? It is the process of making software for smartphones, tablets, digital assistants. Even now there are smart watches also, right? So it's all come under the same thing. Most commonly for the Android and iOS operating systems, because there are, unless you go into IoT, there are no other platforms that we are interested in right now. So the software can be either pre-installed on the device, downloaded from an app store, or accessed through a mobile web browser. So there are three ways. When you're buying a phone, or when you install the operating system to the phone, you get some apps on the phone, right? Like the address book, for example. What are the basic apps you get? When you start the phone, you get some apps, right? So these are apps that are coming pre-installed. Or you can go to the app store and download something and install it there. Or there are also another way to access application, that is using the browser and then go to the application and see how it works. So three ways of accessing. And there are a lot of different languages that we use to develop these applications. Java, there is Swift, C#, JavaScript. By the way, Java and JavaScript are completely two different languages. Under JavaScript, we have things like Angular, React, and Node from the backend. So there are so many other flavors of JavaScript available. TypeScript from Microsoft is another one. They're all JavaScript based. And then we have Dart, and Dart coupled with Flutter. We use that to develop mobile applications as well. HTML5, I don't call it a language, but it's a markup language, is another mechanism where we use basically to do design elements on mobile phones. So that's kind of a definition of what mobile application development is. Now let's look at the role of the mobile app developer. Right now, this looks like a pretty complicated thing, because look at the points. First, working out customer needs and converting them into technical requirement. I will actually don't say mobile app developer. I will say mobile app development team, right? Because in that team, there may be different people doing these roles. So there may be a business analyst understanding what the customer wants and then converting that into a technical document. And then there may be another backend developer who will be developing the APIs required for the mobile application. So there are two parts. There is backend, then there is front end. Then the third point is cooperation with function designers, UX designers, UI designers. So there are programmers who do programming. Then there are people who understand customer behaviors. Those are called the UX people. And then there are people who actually design the UI. So those are the UI designers. and they work together, right? So the UX people try to understand the behavior of the people. Okay, why do they click here? Why do they click there? What colors are suitable? What kind of buttons are good? What kind of pictures are suitable? So that is UX. And the UI person will decide on where to put the element, and now with the UX help, so they will basically design the UI, or rather the front end of the application. And then after you do all that, you need to do something called deployment. You need to submit that into a app store. So there are two app stores, one for Apple, another one for Android. And then you may also need to keep updating. Now, you know, the apps that we are using, very frequently we get updates, right? So that's something that we also need to keep in mind. It might be new features, it might be bug fixing, it might be anything for that matter. We keep pushing updates. So like I said, it's not just one person doing all these things. There may be a team of people doing different things there. But when one person does all that, that's what we call a full stack developer. A full stack developer knows everything, the whole cycle of development. Okay. So before I go to the next one, I'd like to listen to your background and see where we stand with the prerequisites, right? So who want to go first? Or should I pick somebody? Sasindu, Danisha.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so tell me about the things you covered under algorithms and um, patterns and things like that. What language did you use for object orientation?
Java, sir.
Java. Okay. Um, what are some of the principles that you covered? Nivandana, do you remember the object principles, object oriented principles? Anything? I can wait till you talk. I'm not in a hurry. Matushan? Anyone talking? Nobody's talking. Narmila, Ravindu, Ishan, over there. Speak to me in any language. What did you cover under object orientation? So, one person said Java is the language you use. So, what did you cover? Anybody? Ama Pereira. Please use this opportunity to communicate. Okay, so we can't do this secretly. So I like if you can talk to me, ask any questions in the class, and I can help you. We are here to help you to understand and follow this along. With me, I have Yasara also. Any questions you may have, you're free to ask anytime. Right. You may have heard this word called ecosystem. Right now, generally we use this terminology to talk about the nature or some environment and things like that. But ecosystem is a common term we use to describe what is connected together, right? A collection of things. So we can talk about an ecosystem for our mobile application development as well. So what is available in the ecosystem when it comes to mobile applications? What are the things in this ecosystem? So we can identify at least 4 things coming under the mobile ecosystems. Number 1, mobile app planning. Right? There are things coming under the mobile app planning ecosystem. Like say, okay, where do you start? Right? What is the kind of solution you're trying to give to the problem? Right? Or at least what is the problem we are trying to solve? Now, if you take, for example, Uber or PickMe, the problem, there were 2 people having problem. People with vehicles, in their case, 3-wheelers, taxis. If you take 3-wheeler, they keep on riding. They get into the 3-wheeler in the morning, they keep driving everywhere in their city to find someone, right? To find a ride. They don't stop anywhere. They keep riding. And that's their problem, finding a customer. Now, the customer has another problem. When I want to get out of the house, I need a 3-wheeler near me. I can't find it. I will wait and wait and wait and wait. So 2 people had 2 problems. So Uber and PickMe solved it. How did they solve it? They installed 2 apps on these 2 people, connected them into a server. So when the taxi is free, they send a signal to the server saying, hey, I have a taxi and I'm free. Similarly, also where I am. So they also tell their location. So the client, or the ride we call it, they also send a message saying, look, I want a taxi and this is where I am and I want to go to that place. So the server then starts sending this message to all the 3-wheelers nearby and say, look, there is a customer wanting to go from this place to the other place. Are you interested? And then it's first sent to one 3-wheeler. They're asking, okay, are you interested? I give you 3 seconds to decide. So within 3 seconds, if they say yes, they will get the ride. If they do nothing, it will go to the next available 3-wheeler. And then if it is not taken, to the next one, to the next one. Likewise, it keeps going to all the 3-wheelers until someone gets it. If there are no 3-wheelers, then the customer will be notified saying, look, nothing is available. You may need to wait for it here. Okay. So that's mobile app planning. What is the problem? What is the solution? And then in between, how are we designing the UI? What do they see first? What do they see second? Now, although many people in Sri Lanka has a smartphone, they may not be using email, right? They may not be able to remember a username and password. So best one would be for them to use a mobile phone number itself. So things like that, So you design the workflow of how things are moving from one screen to another screen. So that is the app planning. And also development, and there are a lot of stuff that goes into the UI development part. We will discuss that later. And then App Store analytics. Now, all apps that we develop go through the App Store. That's where the customers are locating, downloading, and installing the app. There may be other third-party partners we may need, for example, payments. So we might need a connection to the bank. We might need a connection to a telecom company. So those are called third-party partners. And comes the actual mobile application development. So these are the 4 different things that we can identify in the ecosystem. In the first one, the planning phase, it is very, very important to consider who your target audience is, and also how are you going to market your app, and what kind of technology you're going to use, and what are the kind of features you will require in the app, right? There's so many others as well. Now, in fact, that will dictate you the language also. For example, if your app requires a lot of access to device related gadgets, or we call it peripherals, like the camera, shock sensors, stuff like that, then maybe you may have to go with native development, right? Sometimes the hybrid development might not work as fast as you expect. So you need to decide on these things before you decide on the language you are going to develop on. So what I'm saying here is, single language is not a solution for all the problems out there. So don't think Flutter can solve all the problems. Don't think React Native can solve all the problems. Okay, so don't think Kotlin or Swift can solve all the problems. Each one has their own problems and each one has their own solutions. So we need to first decide what do we want, and then we decide on the other steps going forward. Okay, so this diagram shows some of the important things in the ecosystem, right? If you look at the right-hand side, on the top, we have mobile manufacturers. So many, isn't it? We have Apple, we don't say Android, because under Android, there are hundreds of manufacturers, but Apple is manufactured only by Apple. So they control everything. Whereas Android, it's a licensing system. Google also manufactures phones. They have something called the Pixel range, but there are hundreds of people out there developing Android phones as well. So Samsung, LG, Redmi, and so many out there. So those are the mobile manufacturers. And then comes the operating system. Now, if it is an Android label, everyone is running Android. Otherwise, everyone is running Apple. So that's number 2. And number 3 is mobile apps. There are websites, and then there are testing tools and various things basically available for the phone. And these are the companies who manufacture or supply testing or development tools. Like if you take Flutter, right? It is coming from Google. So it's a development tool. So likewise, if you look at Swift and the others, they're all coming from Apple. And that's a development tool again. Now, along with this, there can be also a website connected to the mobile application. So mobile app is one, but it may also, now, for example, if you need more information, it might take you to a website, or you might use your laptop to go to the website in order to install the app, right? So a website is also generally connected with the mobile app as well. Next is a very, very important one, the mobile app store. Without it, you can't distribute your application to customers. Mobile app store. And the next one is a mobile ad companies. Now, what does that mean? Why are they here? Well, we may be developing free applications. We just build it for the sake of learning something. But if the app is really good, you can make money out of that. How do you make money? There are 2 ways. One, you sell the app. You can ask people to buy your app. But that's a big shot, because if there are free apps available, why would anyone buy your app? You might have 5 people, 10 people buying your app, but then that's not enough for sustainability, right? So what you can do is you can partner with a mobile ad company where they will display ads within your mobile application. So, and that will give you an income. Okay, so that will give you an income. So you don't need to sell your app. App is free, but you make money out of the advertisements. These are very normal things that we do day to day. And then comes the carrier. Who is the carrier? It is the mobile network provider. In our country, we have Mobitel, Dialog, Airtel. Who else we have? Hutch we have, right? So those are the people who connect mobile phones together with the servers and basically to the internet, right? That is their role. Network, carrier will both go hand in hand. Then we have the mobile cloud, right? Now, what does that mean? Now, when you look at the development, you will notice there are situations where we may need to store our data in a database somewhere. Or you may also have another admin console where somebody else is updating information and the mobile is just pulling this information to it. A good example is now SLTC. We have our LMS, right? LMS is installed in a server. You can connect to that using your laptop, using the browser, or you can install the Moodle app to your mobile phone and then configure that to the server and access it through your mobile app, right? So we don't call the Moodle a mobile cloud, but it's in a cloud. It's not specific to the mobile cloud, but then there are clouds specific to mobile as well. Like there are some databases, there are some APIs you can pull in and things like that. So those are specifically designed for mobile ecosystem. And then we have our devices. Now devices also, if you take Apple, every year they launch a version, a new one. Now the latest is 15. And if you look at the Android, again, we have a huge range there coming from various companies. And the last one is, of course, the consumer or the mobile phone user. Okay. Now, just to give you a idea about the differences that we have here, let's jump into the website for a minute. You may have seen this website. This is one of the best sites out there to compare mobile phones. Okay. Now, if okay, let me go into first. I'm gonna search something. I'll say iPhone. Oops. Let's say iPhone 10. iPhone X, that is. And I want to compare that, let's say, with the iPhone 15 Pro Max. Right? Here I am trying to compare these things. Or maybe I can take another one also. iPhone 14 maybe. Okay. So when I say comparison, I'm looking at technicalities. So let's look at the dimension also. This is different, but let's go into, let's say, screen resolution. Okay, here it's 1125, 1290, 1290. If you look at the OS, okay, there are different versions, version 11, 17, and also 17. Okay, check out the CPU. Here it says hexa-core 2.39 gigahertz, Monsoon, and Mistral. Here hexa-core 2 into 3 gigahertz. Here is hexa-core 2 into 3.4 gigahertz. This is Everest and Sawtooth. Now, one in the middle is 15. So if you compare here, there's Apple GPU, 3-core graphics, 6-core graphics, 5-core graphics. And then we have memories, right? The rest, I'm not going to compare. So we are comparing apple with apple. So there is not a big difference here, right? Let's take an Android phone. Let's say Redmi 10. And I'm going to compare this with, let's say, Samsung Galaxy A54 and also another completely different brand, Huawei. Huawei Y9 maybe. Right, now all three are running Android. Okay. Now I'm going to jump into the CPU here. Right, now here we have A75, Cortex A75, this is Cortex A78, this is Cortex A73. And here we can see Mali, G51, G68, and G52. So you can see here the manufacturer of the chips. This is a company in China called MediaTek Helio. This is Exynos from Samsung, and Kirin is also another one from Huawei. So 3 CPUs, right? 3 different manufacturers. Imagine the person writing the microcode that is running inside these chips. That will be completely different, right? So someone writing code for MediaTek has to do completely different to Exynos or Kirin, right? Unlike Apple, where everything is Apple chip. Here, the chipset is different. If you go into the other detail, you will see many other things are also different, like cameras, for example, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth systems, even the other peripherals. So they're all different. So this guy has FM radio. Here there's an FM radio. Fingerprint. There is an accelerometer. There is a gyro. There is a compass, barometer, all that. So what I wanted to show you with this comparison is the phones, while they look the same, inside they are completely different. Completely different. Right? So the manufacturer of the CPUs, the chipsets, everything is different, including the camera. Now, if we are to develop anything to these gadgets without an operating system, will be a nightmare, because every gadget every year is different to the one that they got previously. Right? Now, if I compare, let's say Redmi 6 or 5 maybe, don't even have that. Okay. Now I'm comparing Redmi with Redmi 6 and 10. Let's look at the CPU. Okay. Luckily, they are both coming from the same company, MediaTek. This is the MT6762 Helio, and this is G88 Helio. Yeah, almost same. But the GPU is different. Here we have Mali G52. Here we have PowerVR GE. Same company, 2 chips. Right? So things are very, very different in the mobile phone business. Now, this is also why, if you in fact compare, actually, if you compare the operating system next, you will also notice they are also completely different. So when we are developing an application, it is unlike doing something for the laptop or desktop. Now here, things are different, right? Every device is different. So something that is working in the latest sophisticated mobile phone may not work in, let's say, an older phone. So then how are we going to tackle that? So we need to keep in mind when you're developing mobile applications, we generally start with the smallest or the least sophisticated phone, and then we build in. From there, we build up. So our app has to work with the least possible device. And once that is working, and then we start coming up slowly. So that's the idea of having a much more usage base. Here's another diagram with some brand names, right? So device manufacturers, you can see Samsung, Nokia, LG, Huawei, Apple, so many, even Google. And then app developers and app builders, there are different applications available called app builders. Now with these builders, with very little knowledge of coding, you can build apps. So Adobe has one, IBM has one, Intel had another one. So they may, I suppose they may be okay for experimentation, but it's a big question mark whether they are okay for production. So if you want to just show somebody about an application, then you can go with the builders, but they may not be suitable for commercial production level application development. And then there are measuring tool providers, analytics. Google has a fantastic tool called the Google Analytics. Then there are others, Comscore, Omnitio, people like that who gives a comprehensive report about the usage of your application. How many people have downloaded, how many people are using it, what features they are using, how much data they are consuming. All that you can get from these tools. And then the distributors, so the app stores. So generally we have Apple and Android. In the recent past, there was also another one came to the market, that is Huawei store. Because Huawei had some trouble with the previous US president because he banned a lot of stuff to China. And Google came forward and said, we are not going to give you Android. So no Android Play Store. So what did Huawei do? They built their own operating system. They built their own Play Store also. And they are a big market shareholder now. And then comes the infrastructure providers. Akamai is a great company connecting the entire internet backbone, right? So they are not in the, we don't see them anywhere, but they are the company connecting all the big providers in the background. And then we have companies like Amazon Web Services, Airtel, Dialog, and whatnot, giving us the connectivity. And then there are others where we may need payment systems and whatnot. So there are similar providers also there. And of course, other applications like the social media and others, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, whatnot. So this is another way to look at the mobile application ecosystem. So for this industry to thrive, for this industry to go forward, we need these companies doing their job. Okay, so with that background, let's look at the skills required for mobile app developer. On the left, we have Apple. On the right, we have Android. Now, this, by the way, is suitable only for native app development. So if you're looking at native app development, okay, this diagram is good. So on the Apple side, you have to start with the Swift language. So the Swift is based on C++ actually. And along with that, there are so many other things that you will be working with. There is UI kit, storyboards, auto layout. And then Apple has one application called Xcode, which you will develop to, which you need to develop Apple applications. By the way, if you are into Apple application development, you must require an Apple laptop because there is no other way to push your app to the Apple store. You must need an Apple. On the Android side, you can build it on any platform. You can build Android on an Apple also. So many mobile app developers go for an Apple because that way they can develop Apple and Android both in the same laptop. And then there are other web-based services. We call it API services. There are also storage devices, storage sites available. Similar to UIKit from Apple, Android also has something called the material design. So that is a design guideline that we will be using to design our mobile app. And both has different way of basically running the application. Now, Apple uses a concept called MVC, Model View Control Architecture, whereas Android uses something called activities and fragments. So this is the architectural level sort of comparison for both platforms. Now you notice you can't master both, isn't it? You will either an Apple developer or an Android developer if you are talking about native development. Now to rescue us from here, we have something that is sitting in between. All right. So if you're looking at the importance of the digital age, right? Why mobile devices are important in the digital age? Number one. By the way, if you have any questions, you are free to raise your hand and ask a question. කාටරි ප්‍රශ්නයක් තියෙනවා නම් raise hand එකක් දාලා ප්‍රශ්නය අහන්න පුළුවන්. So, starting from the first one, pervasiveness of mobile devices. Pervasive means what? It is available everywhere. In fact, it has become an integral part of our daily lives, isn't it? As soon as you get up in the morning, we turn on the phone. Maybe it's already on 24/7. If it is off, we turn it on in the morning. So we start our day with the phone, isn't it? And we use it for communication and information in entertainment and productivity, check out the news, all that we use a mobile phone. Accessibility, what does that mean? Easy to engage with content and services. So if you have the phone with you, we just press a button or touch something and instantly it's on, right? And then you can check out news or apps and whatever very fast. Number three, the user experience. What does that mean? Generally, we use phones with a touch screen and we are expecting a very smooth interaction, right? Also faster loading time and also better performance. Now, people can very easily detect when the system is slow. So they can complain whether the system is slow or fast. Okay. So that's, in fact, one of the biggest elements there, the user experience. Because if the application is not smooth, then the whole point of the application will become a serious problem. And then the offline access. What does that mean? We may, especially when you are traveling, we might not have internet access, right? So in that case, how do you access our services, for example? Say, for example, you're using WhatsApp and then there is no connectivity. Now, your WhatsApp communication is stored on the mobile phone, right? You may not be sending instant messages or getting instant messages, but you can start replying to these things now. Or let's say if it is an email application that you have on the phone, you can start replying to these emails while you are offline. And when the internet is present, it will start sending the messages from the phone. That is called synchronization. The other one is also very, very important, push notifications. Now, what does that mean? Push notification allows disturbing the user immediately or instantly. Okay, so if you want to send an important message, we can push that to the device and it pops up with either a sound or a button or a light or something like that. Yeah. And the last one is the integration with the device features. So the mobile phone has lots of devices. Camera is one, there's GPS, there's accelerometer, a lot of different things are there. So your programming, or rather your day-to-day activity, is based on a lot of these things. Now, we use mobile, actually Google Map or Apple Maps all the time, especially when you're traveling to a place where you're not sure of, right? Some people on a daily basis. And the camera is becoming very good all the time. With every new version, you get better cameras with phones. In fact, Apple has a channel called Shot with Apple 14. It's a fantastic channel, and there are some amazing videos done by people using only the mobile phone. Right? You need to be a professional to use that. The device has everything you need. So the phone is also becoming a very smart camera. And we use a GPS system with the map. We use the accelerometer for our, let's say, day-to-day exercising and whatnot detection. And I think it was Apple 14 that came up with a mechanism to detect a car accident. And it'll automatically dial an ambulance for you if you're not using the phone after the accident. So there are a lot of things like that where we use it in a day-to-day environment. And what about the money matters? Monetization opportunities. Now, developing apps becoming easier by the day. Of course, for you to make a production level app, you need to learn a lot of stuff. But if you have time, you can invest and learn. And there are so many ways to make money. There is in-app advertising, because there are advertising companies out there. Remember the ecosystem? There are advertising companies out there who will send you app advertisements, and you get paid just for showing it or allowing them to click. And then there are apps that can buy, you purchase the app. These are called in-app purchase. And there are also subscription models, like in music players, video streaming services, news maybe, where you can buy a subscription service. And then there are also other premium apps where you buy one with less features, but if you want to upgrade, you have to pay and upgrade it yourself. Then we have personalization. What does personalization mean? Personalization meaning it collects the information about the user so that the server can send customized messages. Okay, meaning the device will send information to a server. There are issues with the privacy. Is a user okay to send the information? User not okay to send the information? There are things like that. But then the fact that the device can collect this information and give a better service is also part of the mobile ecosystem. And we already spoke about the offline data storage. Now, many devices have a large capacity storage, whether it is for music or photographs or anything. It's part of the system. So, in fact, some of the phones are now having, I think the latest iPhone 15 has a 1 terabyte version. So it's like a massive hard disk. So you don't need to carry a pen drive or anything. The phone can carry everything for you. On the security side, there are different things that are attached to the phone. So encryption, biometrics, and secure authentication, they are all part of the device. Now, the other advantage of that is, since the device has all these security systems, your software get this security automatically. Okay. As in, you don't need another authentication for your software if the device has this enough security measures. And then brand presence, what does that mean? It reinforces their brand presence. It's direct channel communication and engagement with customers. So now, for example, if you are buying If you're downloading an app from, let's say, SLTC campus, it will be all blue color, right? Because that is our theme color. And you will see the logo in most prominent places, right? So that's being customizing with the brand. Next up, we have competitive advantage. Now, what does that mean? Now, two companies in the same market or business, say for example, Keel Super versus Cargill Super, right? They can have, let's say one company has an app, other one doesn't have an app. So the one that is having the app may have a competitive advantage what the others don't have. Okay, so that's one thing as well. Analytics or data analytics is another very, very important. This is to look at the user behavior and also the things they like. Going forward, I'll also show you what happened with some of the companies with this data analytics. There were companies who are actually using this data for the good side of people. And then there are also others who use this data for bad side of the people, like electing presidents and getting consent for major deals in the country, stuff like that. And then global reach, what does that mean? The App Store doesn't have a, it doesn't control which country can download, which country can sort of think. Well, I'm wrong, actually. They do. You can't sell your apps in China or Russia or in a few other places. So for that, you need to look something else. But the usual App Store does a decent job of managing the access. And the other thing is, most of these platforms allow you to type in the native language. Now, let's say I can use Flutter or Dart and type in Sinhala and show them Sinhalese messages. The system will not crash. It will work perfectly. Then comes the innovation and future proofing. What does that mean? The mobile devices, like I said, are becoming sophisticated by the day. There are new things coming in and the phone is ready. Augmented reality, virtual reality, IoT, they are some of the very famous things we can do with the mobile phones. Okay, now we also looked at pervasiveness earlier, right? If you look at it in detail, look at where the phones are used. Widespread adoption and integration of mobile technology in various aspects. If you look at the second point there, in 2021, there were approximately 6.3 billion smartphone users. That is about 80% of the global population. Does anybody know what the global population is? What is our global population? Anyone know? මේ ලෝකෙ කී දෙනෙක් ඉන්නවද? Shahan De Silva. Nobody's talking. We have 8 billion people. Of that, 6.3, more than half, are using smartphone. That's a huge number, right? So that's our entire market. We call it the market share. So market share is very, very big. We are talking billions. Imagine building an app used by 1 billion people, right? Okay, so if you look at the different areas where mobile applications are being used, under communication, obviously, yes, internet access, work and productivity, entertainment, navigation and maps, e-commerce, health and fitness, smart home, education. What is smart home? A smart home is a home with lots of electronic gadgets where they reduce, let's say, we call it the carbon footprint, like reduce wastage of water, maybe wastage of electricity, maybe. So lots of different things come into the smart home. So education, social media, news, banking, emergency, and also, of course, environmental impact. So mobile phones are everywhere in this list. They're everywhere. Actually, mobile computing, I would say, not mobile phones. Right. If you look at the development of a mobile application, these are some of the things you need to keep in mind. Of course, many phones are highly sophisticated and they have way more than your laptop. But remember, everybody cannot afford sophisticated phones. So many people end up buying a cheap, but a smartphone. So if you are looking at penetration of large number of people, you need to start from that level. You need to start with a simple, what do I say, simple feature set, right? Where anyone can use. So the resources are CPU, RAM, storage, network, screen size, user knowledge, things like that. And next point is you need to make sure that your app uses less resources, like CPU maybe, network bandwidth maybe, screen size maybe, whatever it may be, or even the battery, right? You try your level best to make sure that you use least amount of resources. And number 3 is self-explanatory. It says great user experience is vital, right? So it's very, very important. And user interface should be simpler than desktop application. Now, that is also important because many smartphone users are not very smart. So they may need a lot of help in getting things done, right? And app interface should be designed for touch. What does that mean? It's a touch-based, touch-sensitive system, and you need to test it in a way where the interface is very easy to use by the people. That is why the UX is very important. How can you design a screen where a single thumb can be used to operate the whole application and also user friendly? And then users want to accomplish tasks simply with just a few taps. That's another very important part. Because if you're showing lots of complicated forms and buttons and selections, people might not do that. They need just a simple system because they don't have maybe much time to sit down and do this phone business. So if they can do it faster, they'll love it. Okay, so now let's look at the types of applications that we can develop. Number one is called the native apps. Native apps require knowledge of the native language used by the mobile phone architecture. For example, if you are developing for Apple, you must learn Swift. If you are developing for Android, well, then you have a lot of choices, right? Java, Kotlin, Flutter, React Native, there are so many. And then the advantages, when it comes to advantages of local or rather we call it native development, you have full access to all the gadgets in the phone, which generally not possible if you're using a hybrid language like Flutter, right? And you get instant access and they are much more faster to the local application or native application than an hybrid application. And of course, we have challenges and limitations. Challenges are resources, constant connectivity is also we are expecting. So these are some of the challenges we have. What is going on here? Okay, so we looked at the platforms. Next one is called the web apps, right? From native, we can ask them to use their browser on the phone and connect to the site and see how it works. Now, under that, there are different technologies available. You simply make the website using your HTML, CSS, JavaScript. And also, there are a few things we need to do called cross-platform compatibility. Specifically here, we need to see how Apple interface and Android interface differ from each one. So if you really want to change that, well, you can. Otherwise, you can have a sort of a universal UI system as well. Number three is responsive design. What does that mean? Responsive design is where you design a website and even when you resize the screen, it doesn't break the, actually it does break the flow of the information, but it becomes much more easier to read on the mobile phone than earlier, non-responsive design. And the fourth one is a very interesting concept called progressive web apps. I think it was designed by Google and others, right? Progressive web app. So this one is actually not a native mobile app. It is not a website. When you go to the PWA version of an app, you can download that PWA version, right? And then use it like an app. Then comes the hybrid mobile, our third type. That is not native, not web, but they use web technologies in order to develop the application. So under that, we can see Flutter, React Native. There are a few others also code. What's it called? PhoneGap. Yeah, there was PhoneGap as well. So they give us a way to develop something that works on both platforms with the same code base. So we save a lot of time. So the biggest one, of course, is code reusability. Okay, I think this diagram shows the development in a nutshell, right? If you look at the left-hand side, this is where we do hybrid development. So we write the code, we test the code, and then we have one code base here. And so it goes to two people to build either their feature or anything for that matter, right? But if you look at here, oh, by the way, so we use the same code base to build for Android and build for Apple, same code base. Here, there is no this to this. So you have write test build, write test build. So you have a mechanism to develop native application, right? Unlike the hybrid version. But like I said earlier, you need two separate teams in order to do this. Right, now comes another interesting one. Where do you start? Okay, I think we briefly discussed this. Number one is planning. Number two is designing the UI UX, development, testing, and deployment. So under this, let me now take you to the web again. Now this course, I've listed it in Moodle, so you can go and get it. So this is coming from the University of Montreal, Canada. It takes 4 weeks and is self-paced and it is free. And you'll be learning a lot of things about what we discussed today. So there are multiple levels, by the way. So if you look at intro, this is the intro. Project cycle, stakeholders, client and citizen experience. So under syllabus, you talk about explain what is UX. It's a very nice course. And then there's module 2, who do we need UX? Module 3, you actually do some work, right? I've added this to our Google, our LMS system. You can start anytime you want. Remember, you get 5 marks for this. Don't worry about this date, it comes every day. You go there tomorrow, it will say starts on October 18th. You see already 20,000 people have signed up. What are you learning here? You're learning about a project cycle, stakeholders, client experiences, and ROI and KPI. So start it immediately, probably this week. And then as the time goes on, you can close that. You can, send us your certificate. You can upload that to the Moodle. All right, any questions so far? We discussed many different things about mobile application development. Any question, anybody so far? Okay, so I'm going to conclude now. And with the rest of the time, all of you, please go to this website. Here. And enroll into this and start the class, right? So Friday, you can give your update to Yasara. If there are anything else, I will upload that into Hold on. Why it is not sharing? Okay, so Yasara, I will be taking your attendance today. Please sign up for this program and make sure you, I mean, it will take time. You can't continue it. I mean, you can't complete it today. It will take some time. Take your time, but I need to make sure that you do complete this one as well. Any questions, anybody? No questions. Okay, so I'll see you on Friday. Spend the time here and sign up and make sure you give your attendance to Yasara.